Goy, one Gentile and a Jew. Heeb and Goy, Heeb and Goy, two old men who like to complain. Heeb and Goy, Heeb and Goy, we hope that you will come back again.
And here we are, episode
And we're
53.
back. 53.
53.
That's a lot of episodes. That is a
Audio
lot of
only.
episodes.
Audio only because StreamYard is expensive.
Yes,
And
and Dan is following some good advice, which is like not to spend money on some things that aren't really necessary, especially if there's no income. I'm a guy who's got no income, like zero, except for selling a painting every now and again. So as such, we're very frugal around here, but I don't expect Dan to do some insane frugal things. You know what I mean? But this was a good move.
yeah, so here we are. I've had a eventful couple weeks. I don't know. Did we have one? Oh, we didn't do one last weekend. We were going to. Um,
Okay, I'll pick where we last left off. Dan was feeling very cheerful and hopeful that he was going to go in and the doctors were going to say, "You're all good. You can go out and start wheelbarrowing, stuff for the pigs again, like picking up pigs." I remember you said you wanted to pick up pigs, and then that was going to be the checkup. And unfortunately, that's why Dan sounds a little bummed out right now, and rightly so, is that he got some bad news from the doctor regarding his aneurysm.
yeah, so without getting too much into the weeds, the whole goal with these aneurysms is to try and wait them out. So what you want to do is they put in a stent which diverts blood flow away from it,
Right.
and you just need to sort of wait it out until the stent grows into your artery. Once the stent grows into your artery, which takes 6 months,
Yeah.
they can remove you from blood thinners, which you have to be on while the stent, after the stent was put in. But once
Yeah.
it's grown in, you don't need the blood thinners anymore, and then basically the aneurysm will heal, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
And they did tell me early on in the process, sometimes, we got to do a second stent. That can happen where you have the one, and sometimes we need to do a second one.
Right.
So I just was so confident going into this because
Right.
I was feeling so good, and I was like, it'll be all right. I was positive. When he woke me up after going in to look at it, the aneurysm got bigger.
Oh wow.
So then they did a second stent, and I spent one night in the hospital.
So you went in to get it checked out. And before you knew it, like you went in there to get it checked out, and they immediately, it wasn't like, oh, we need to schedule you a second visit, whatever. Like they brought you right away to the hospital to do this procedure to put in the second stent.
Yeah, as soon as he saw it got bigger, he said, let's go ahead and, because I was already there, right? I'm already in the
Right.
hospital. So they checked me
Huh.
in, they went in, they put the second stent in, and he basically said, look, you need to take it extremely easy for the next few months, like nothing
Wow.
strenuous. You got to keep the
Yeah.
blood pressure down. So that's what I've been doing, man. And I go back.
Which, by the way, it's not easy for Dan to take it easy.
No, it's not.
It's not in his, I know that about Dan. It's not in his nature to just rest and do nothing and take it easy. He likes to do things. He likes to keep busy. He likes to have things going. And that must be hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's more the uncertainty of what's going to happen because basically, here's how this is going to go. We have another follow up the end of this month.
Right.
And he was going to wait 2 months to do it, but he said, let's give you some peace of mind. Let's do it in 1 month.
Okay.
So in one
I
month,
mean, that's nice. I mean, right, 2 months would be excruciating.
so we're going to go at the end of the month. And if they give you the twilight sedation.
Right.
They go in through your arm and they basically put a catheter up your arteries to look at the whole situation.
Right.
And he said, yeah, if the aneurysm is stable, meaning it hasn't gotten bigger, it's just stable,
Mm-hmm.
then that's fine. That's fine. And then he'll just send me back home and he'll say, okay, go back home, keep doing what you're doing.
Just keep fucking resting.
But if we go in there and the aneurysm is larger,
Right.
we're going to have to make some unpleasant decisions.
Are you comfortable
So,
about talking what those unpleasant decisions are, or not
well,
really?
I don't know what they all are. He said basically it would be surgery, and there's different ways he could go about it. I have a pretty complicated aneurysm. It's not the easy kind where you can just clip it and be done.
Right.
So it it would require some out of the box thinking, basically.
Wow.
Now, this surgeon is very good, right?
Yeah.
He's known to be extremely good. He's at UF, which is where all the good people are,
Right. Right.
and I trust him. But he said, look,
Good.
basically, he is pursuing a course of treatment right now that is very low risk,
Right.
right?
The one right now with the stents and waiting to that's low risk. Very
Low
low
risk,
risk.
because putting the stent in is pretty easy.
Yeah.
But basically, if it's bigger at the end of the month, we're going to be looking at some options where there's risk.
Yeah.
But honestly, my attitude will be whatever we got to do, we got to do, right?
Yeah, and that's the right attitude to have. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I'm first off, I'm sorry. I got to say that's some bad news. I'm sorry to hear that, Dan. Of course, but
Yeah.
you're handling it the best you can, and it's like we talked about last time. It's like if it's the type of a thing where it's beyond your control. It's absolutely beyond your control. There's like fuck all you can do about it. The best you could do is to stack your deck and take it easy, which I know is a challenge for you. But as far as like the medical and surgery and all that stuff goes, I mean that's so out of your hands.
It's completely out of my
So
hands. And I
yeah,
suspect, I hope that the risk we would be taking is not death. I think it would be more stuff like partial paralysis or other deficits, but not death. Because I feel like if I have the surgery, I'm in the hospital, they're right there to deal with me. If I have a bleed or anything, they just deal with it.
yeah,
And, if I was going to die from this, it likely would have happened in December when I was lying on the ground here, you
that was
know.
close. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really. I mean, you were on the ground out at the pig farm, and what if no one was around? You could have very well been by yourself out there, and that
Yeah.
would have been it.
Yeah, no,
So
that was the really hard one. And
yeah.
we have the woman who was my ICU doctor, because the way it works is you have a surgeon who does the surgery, and then when you go to the ICU after the surgery, there's a doctor who basically keeps an eye on you.
Kind of the
And
overseer sort of
a
situation.
little bit, that doctor
Yeah.
has become a friend.
Oh.
And we trust her implicitly. Everything she has predicted has come true so far.
Oh, really?
And pretty much, like she said when I was in the other hospital, she said, if I can get you over here, I'll have you home by New Year's. And I was home by New Year's.
Huh.
Um, and what she said to my wife and me recently was, we are absolutely past the worst of this. And
Oh.
and basically, even if we have to do surgery, yes, there's risk, but it's not like the risk I took or I had when I actually first had the bleed, you know.
Yeah, so worst case scenario, you get some deficits or whatever, but then after that, you're not going to die. It's just,
You're not going to
and then
die. You would have, so the thing
it's
is,
fixed.
even if you have deficits, let's say I have partial paralysis, right?
Yeah.
That's something you can work back from. Like
Yeah.
I joined a couple of support groups on Facebook, and just I see these people and they came out with lots of things and they're all fine after a couple of years. So,
Yeah,
um,
I mean, they work at it. I'm sure there's a lot of physical therapy and this type of thing.
yeah,
But what's amazing about the human body in general is its ability to spring back, and like it's amazing how resilient the human body can be,
yeah,
and the human mind and the human body, and so I mean, when you stop smoking, you can have these diseased, fucked up black lungs, and if you stop smoking, the lungs will eventually turn pink again. I've always thought that was just nuts.
that is crazy.
And it just like right, like you think after decades of smoking, like they'd be fucked up, but there's like these charts that you can look at. They help you stop smoking when they say, "Oh, your lungs will turn pink again after 5 years completely," and like
Yeah.
it's not even like you're a non-smoker anymore. I'm like, "Oh shit."
So what I did was
So
when I first got home from this, the first thing I did is I called one of my aunts. So I have very few relatives that I'm tight with, as you know. But
yes, Dan is not a fan of yes.
I have an aunt. She's an aunt by marriage, and she's just an amazing person. And she has had illnesses that are far beyond anything I can even conceive. She has a rare lung disorder.
Mm.
She had to have a liver transplant some years ago,
Oh my God,
and she's had cancer. So
Jesus.
I talked to her and I'm like, so what's your secret? Like, 'cause here you are, you're 70 something now and you're doing good. And
Yeah,
she said it's all about thinking positively, thinking positive.
yeah.
And for me, that's hard, as you know.
That's hard. That's hard. Dan's whole. Yeah, I was thinking about you. Like that's so true because we, yeah, like it, it's stuff where it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to hate on things. It's kind of fun to be negative to some extent, right? And but like this requires a shift in mindset, which I know you can do, and I know you were already headed in that direction even before this all happened.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I'm look.
me and Dan used to be in this haters group, like we used to be in this Facebook group where all we did was just fucking hate on people and be negative and just sort of like just bathe in the negativity, and it was fun because there is a part of that that is entertaining for some weird reason in our brains. But we're slowly moving away from that, you know, and I think in this journey that you're on right now, it's a fucking good timing on that part.
Yeah. So, you
So what
know,
else did your aunt say? I'm sorry to interject. What else did your aunt say? She says stay
it was
positive.
basically that.
That's
She
the
goes,
key.
try to flip any negative you thought you have into a positive,
Right.
The negative is I got to sit here and wait for a month to go back in. Well, that's a month that you can use and relax and take it easy. And, you know, I'm fortunate I don't have to work, so I can sort of, take this time and just basically not do nothing and just sit down and, do what they tell me. But, I'm doing okay. I am really trying, I'm staying positive. I have a lot of confidence in my doctors, and I think this time around, when they wake me up, he's going to give me better news. I think he's going to say it stayed the same size, and then we'll just be back to doing this again.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that too. I think, and it's just going to be, and of course, Dan wisely just shut down, especially after he just no more jobs. No, like really, it's just completely done. Am I right? Like it's gone.
yeah, no, I quit my main gig, and then on top of that, I I shut down a couple of my businesses, and the
Yeah,
reason that
my phone went.
huh?
Yeah, I got a text from Dan who used to take care of my phone through one of his internet companies, and it's like, "Hey, big boy, you got to pay your own phone bill
Well, you
right
were always
now."
paying it. It was just to my old company.
I know, and it's just funny. I was like, so when I got that message that yeah, you got to deal with your phone, and I'm getting rid of the old chat software, and I'm like, oh, this like I thought like, look, I know you really well. And when I got those two bits of information that you're getting rid of the old podcast software because it cost a monthly fee, it was expensive, and just shut down your other like company, whatever. I'm like, oh, he's taking this seriously. If Dan is gonna like stop, is gonna do any kind of reeling back of expenses on stuff like that, he's taking it very seriously, and is
Well,
incredibly proud of you.
Kara and I had a disagreement about this. I'm curious what you think.
Oh boy,
So,
is she in the room?
she's out. I'm outside. I'm sitting on the
Yes.
deck. She's out with the pigs.
All
So, so
right, a
I decide.
disagreement. What do I think?
No, it's not like an argument, but she didn't agree with my
Okay.
approach. So
Okay.
I decided about a week ago, I am going to shut down every little side gig company thing I have. Right? It's all internet
Right.
stuff. It's all internet stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm like, I do not need the agita. I don't need the
Right.
stress. These things don't pay all that much. So it's not like it's worth the stress. You know what I
A
mean?
100%. Yeah.
So I sent out a note to all of my clients and said, hey, due to an unforeseen health situation, I'm shutting down.
Right. Right.
People have generally been pretty cool about it.
Of course.
And towards the end of the month, I'm just going to completely shut it all down.
Good.
And I'll have no income, but I will also have no demands on my time.
100%.
Yeah, I figured you would think that way.
Are
Kara's
you
like, well,
kidding? That's the she thinks she should still do something?
no, she thought that me doing this meant that I'm sort of giving up and thinking I'm going to die, and that's not
No,
really.
I don't think that. I mean, you're no, you're look. You're stacking the deck. Look, you want to live. You want the best result possible. So what do? There are actions you can take. Like a prepper, there are actions you can take. And so what you're going to do is follow your doctor's advice, who said you got to keep the blood pressure down. And it's a you know yourself, and I know you, and I know the way these little things work when it's like, oh, I got this little side gig, I got to take care of a couple customers. That it'll bring very little money coming in and just nothing but stress. I mean,
Yeah,
even if it's a little stress, that's stress you don't need. Like,
yeah,
you
that's
don't
kind of what
need,
I thought, and I also thought it's
right?
it's good to uncomplicate my life right now. Because here's the
Oh,
thing, I can always
str-
take this stuff back.
you could take it back. I mean, look, it's not like Kara thinking, oh, you're just giving up all this shit, getting ready to die, like Swiss, like fucking Swedish death cleaning and all this. Like, no, this is Dan very wisely going, okay, we are in a triage situation right now. This shit is serious. And I'm going to stack the deck and do the best I can to follow my doctor's advice, which is to keep the blood pressure down. And I know if I have a little side gig and some dude wants me to build his website and he doesn't like the color of the banner and he's calling me up and I'm only making $300 and the guy doesn't like the color of the banner and I told him it was going to be turquoise. He says it's more green. You know what I'm talking about. This whole thing
Right.
is going to be like irritating. And over what? Yeah, like a couple shekels, and like you would much rather
Yeah,
like
it's not worth it.
really
If when this is all over,
so not worth it.
when this is all over, I will consider going back to work like in a normal job. But
Yeah.
this one company that I'm shutting down, I've run it for 20 years. It's been a long time. So I
Yeah.
think I think Kara sort of figured, well, do you just not think you're coming back? And that's not even it. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to I'm
I mean, and that's valid for her to like worry about her loved one, her partner, and it's probably pretty valid of her to think like, wow, he's had this company for 20 years. Why is he shutting it down? But look, dude, I am 100% in agreement with you in this disagreement. This is 100% what you should be doing. Uncomplicating your life. And we don't know what's coming ahead in 6 weeks. But
That's
we
right.
do
And
know,
that's right. That's right.
what we do know that you don't need, like, yeah, like it's going to be hard for you to sit around and do nothing. But look, that's what the doctor said, and you don't need any extra stress. And I know how people, look, we both know how irritating people are, right? We
Yes.
both know how irritating people are, and we both know how being irritated about them affects me and you more than it does other people. That's just how it is. And we've always talked about this thing in our heads that like, wow, why am I so fascinated with being irritated? Why am I so fascinated with being irritated? And it's like, well, that's something that we in your situation and in my situation too, like it's not helpful. It's just not
No, and that's why I did it. I just wanted to uncomplicate my life. I
good. I'm
I
proud of
I
you. I'm proud
I
of you.
believe that I'm going to make it through this, right? I don't
Good. I
know
do too.
I don't know the twists and turns it will take along the way, but
Right.
I'm going to make it through it. I just don't need these freaking businesses. I just don't, right?
No, don't. Especially since you've worked and you're lucky enough to have a situation where you're not dependent upon it. Like, yes, okay, so big deal. You make a couple sacrifices, you cut out some expenses you don't need. Who cares? I mean, big picture, living is more important than material possessions.
Yeah,
Simple.
that's exactly right. So I'm just uncomplicating my life. By the end of this month, I'm not going to have any of those businesses anymore, and I'll be able to hopefully just come back home when I go in for that last check and just continue doing what I'm doing. That's what I'm
Yeah,
hoping.
yeah. And life looks different moving forward. Sometimes it's like shocking. I remember when I first got clean and sober, the thing that would really hit me hard is like, wow, I could never have another drink again. I could never drink again. Like what? Like I'm never gonna have fun again. Life is gonna suck.
Yeah.
But it's just different. You know what I mean? And it's just it's different every day. And we all have challenges and stuff like that. And I think you'll do just fine. I think you're just talking to you now. I was worried about Dan. I'll tell the radio listeners. I was worried about Dan all week, because I know how Dan thinks. And Dan could be a negative Nancy. And so I was like, good to hear that Dan is doing the right things and keeping positive, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'm absolutely staying positive. I believe I'm going to be okay. Um, and I just think these steps are going to be helpful along the way, no matter what. No matter what.
Oh, no matter what, even if everything's fine, just this sort of change in mentality is gonna be beneficial for your life moving forward.
That's correct.
The stripping down, the getting rid of things which do not benefit your life in a mental way. It's just ridiculous. And yeah, I'm happy for you.
Yep. So yeah, man. Not much else to tell.
So
Just
people
kind
are
of,
listening to this podcast and they don't get to see us anymore, but that's okay.
yeah,
Like,
but I'm like,
no
eh,
one's really looking at it. Look, I got a mirror, right? Like, no one's really, and
no.
But I mean, I have, as you know, we've got a handful of listeners, like
Yes.
rabid listeners. And I've been getting texts from my cousin Laura, from Rebecca, from Erica, all these people. How's Dan doing? I noticed you didn't do a like literally it's like I noticed you didn't do a podcast last Sunday. Is everything okay? That's how, and it's weird that there's a handful of followers that are like, wow, they are really invested in the Heeb and Goy show.
Well, so I'll keep uploading these to YouTube, but I suggest you subscribe via, because if you go to heebandgoy.com, there's a link there that you can put into your podcast software to keep up with our episodes.
Oh,
So
that's something I can do or the other people can do.
anyone can do it. Go to heebandgoy.com. There's a thing there that says copy link. It's an RSS link, and then you just go to your podcast software and you add a new show, and then it'll automatically pull new episodes.
Oh, I thought the way it worked is you would subscribe to a YouTube channel and then click get notifications and that YouTube would just bing every time there's a new, right? Like episode. Like it works
Yeah.
that way too, yeah?
Yeah.
It works,
Um,
yeah.
that's right.
So I've got a bunch of nonsense been going on this past couple days. Like this weekend has been just what Rolex called nonsense, and it's kind of true. So like Friday there was an art show that I was in that was it's a bicycle. Okay, you're gonna like this one, Dan. Here's time for a little levity for you. You're gonna enjoy a laugh at my expense. You ready for this?
Okay.
All right. So a while ago, there's this like little gallery in Tempe I've been trying to get into. It's like this kind of down and dirty punk rock gallery. And I don't know anyone in the scene. I'm trying to break in, and of course, all this really revolves around alcohol and weed. Like, hey, we meet up at the bar every Sunday, and we come down and meet everybody. I'm like, I'm not going down to the fucking bar, and because of that, I feel like kind of like this old outsider that's never gonna get in. Even though
Right.
I got the gift of gab and all that, it doesn't matter if you don't drink. And it's like, oh fuck. So I keep going to this gallery, and finally, I finally talk to people, and I get a notification like, hey, we're having an art show in March, and it's going to be a bicycle themed art show. Are you interested? I'm like, yeah. Now you've seen my art the way it looks now. Nothing. It doesn't. There's no bicycles in it. However, my graffiti life in the '90s had a lot of bicycles in it. Right?
Okay.
You've probably seen some of that stuff where it's like this little icon of a bike. I used to scribble all over the city when I was a young man.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, you got a bicycle art show? I'm like, I have some art that I have from the past, and I can remake some that's just this bike icon that I do, and how about that? I sent him some pictures, And they're like, oh, they're all over it, Dan. They're like, this is fucking great. We would love to have you, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, the art show, I go hang up my stuff, and then the art opening was this Friday. So I show up, and you can imagine it's a lot of like, fucking bike parts hanging from the ceiling, and like, things made from old bicycles and oil paintings of bicycles and all this. And then my stuff was on there. And that was nice. I mean, basically the whole thing was nice. But what's funny is I went to go hang it like a couple days previous. Like, hey, come down and bring us your artwork and hang it up. So, Dan, I go there, and I'm the first one there because I want to get a good spot on the wall. As I know, I'm no rookie at this. I want the best fucking spot on the wall. If you get there early, you're going to get the best spot on the wall. High visibility is what I'm looking for. I'm thinking I'm going to sell some paintings, make some money, right? Like, I don't care, Dan, I go there, and they're like, so, I understand you got the email. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got the email. Of course, I barely scanned it. And they're like, okay. And then I go, okay, so what is the gallery breakdown of the sales? Like, what percentage do you guys take? And as you can probably guess, when shown in a gallery, the gallery gets a piece of the pie. Right, Dan?
Sure.
So I go, what's your piece of the pie? What is your cut of the sales? I'm expecting them to say 50%. Sometimes you get lucky and they only take 20%. I go, what's the percentage here? That's how I said it. What's the percentage here? And they go, 100%. And I go, oh, that's very kind of you. I get to keep 100%? Wow, that's great. And they go, Dan, no, we keep 100%. And I'm like, what? Right? And I go, they looked at me like I'm a moron, which I am. And then they go, did you not read the email? And I'm like, I scanned it. And they're like, well, if you read the email, Mr. Boyd, you could tell that this is for a cause. There is a cause called Bike Saviors that they fix up bikes and they sell bikes and they teach disenfranchised people and young people how to fix bikes, and we give the homeless bikes and blah, 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 blah. I get it. It's a cause. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so you're going to donate your artwork. They're going to sell the artwork, and all proceeds go to this. It's like if they did it for Maxine's Hideaway. You know what I mean? This kind of
right.
And I'm like, so now I'm standing there with all my artwork on the table, having just been given this unpleasant information. And I had a fucking fork in the road. I'm like, well, I could say I don't like those terms and pick up my artwork and walk out of here, and then be a total dick. They'd be like, oh my God, this guy's a dick, right? But I said to myself, look, it is for a good cause, and my whole reason for doing this is to get my foot in the door in this place anyway. So I just went ahead with it. I rolled with the punches. And what do you think of that story? Me not reading the email.
It's really crazy to me that they would take 100%.
Well, I mean, look, I went back and read the emails, and they made it very clear. I'm just a fucking moron for not reading said emails, I just like open it up and be like, oh, art show March 7th, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, well, I'm ready. But, I mean, truth be told, it was sort of at the bottom of the email. I'm like, oh. But, no, normally when there's an art show and an art gallery, yeah, gallery takes 50%, the artist gets 50%. That's standard. But 100%, like, they didn't even throw me a fucking shekel. And they're like, oh, you get a t-shirt. I'm like, oh, a t-shirt. That's just what I need. Right, Dan? Like, I need another t-shirt.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, but I did want to just get in the door of this place. And so I was like the old guy walking. You could picture I was the old guy walking around in there. And they were like, who's this fucking old guy? And they're like, well, that's Juice. Juice was a graffiti writer in the 90s, and he wrote this. I had some old photos of me in the subway tunnels and stuff, and people were really interested in me. So it was kind of interesting. There's a lot of they, thems that are interested in me, Dan,
Like that.
There was a lot of they. So that was all right.
That's funny.
Yeah, I didn't read the email. Did you not read the email, Bruce? Oh. I scanned it. I really. So that was that was Friday. Then Saturday night, I had to go play drums with the Banditos, get a season opener with the Fakakta Banditos. I was playing drums, making a bunch of noise, and that was okay. We lost horribly and stuff like this, but I'm really feeling my age, bro. Like I'm fucking at this point late 50s, and I'm out there doing that. And normally there's a pregame. You go to sporting events, you know the drill. There's a
I do.
pregame. Yeah, Dan goes to these college football games. Dan, after the college football game, do you go to like post game parties and stuff?
Not really.
But you know what they exist, right?
Sure.
It's like people are doing stuff like that, and they're like, the Banditos are like, oh, after this, we're all gonna meet up at so and so, and there's gonna be a DJ, there's gonna have tacos and blah blah blah. And my old ass is like, I want to go home. I'm so tired right now. I'm going home,
I get
sore.
it. Yep.
And I was like, fucking, I woke up not long ago. I'm like, I got the podcast in the morning. If it wasn't for the podcast, I'd probably sleep all fucking day. And then, but I'm glad I got the podcast because it gets me out of bed, so I don't do any too much bed rotting. But then, so then of course tonight I'm drumming again in the Grateful Dead cover band for the third night in a row. Now this is about 8 times they're using me,
Wow.
and I'll tell you, after the last time, I started feeling I got my mojo back. I don't know if you. That means I feel a little more. That means I feel confident the way I used to do back in my 20s when I would get up and play with Grotus, and it's just I did that every night, and I didn't feel like I was going to fuck up. So that felt good to get up there and be like a little more confidence back rather than like I had the imposter syndrome for a little while. Like I'm not a
Sure.
drummer. Like why am I up here? I'm just an old man. It's long since my fucking heyday. Why am I even up here thinking I could play Grateful Dead songs? I don't know them that well. But I got through it and stuff like this, so yeah, it's just a bunch of nonsense. Ro likes to call it nonsense. She's not wrong because none of it really brings any money in, especially the art show.
That's just crazy, man. I guess you got to do what you got to do, but wow.
Right? You would say, would you at that point, if you were me, would you say, like, look, can I get like $20? Like, can I
So there's
fucking
basically nothing in it for you other than the relationship.
the exposure? So
Yeah. Oh, right.
here's the deal. So I made the best of it. Unlike all the other artists, you'd be pretty proud of me, Dan. I did something very tech savvy. I know it's going to be difficult for you to believe because I'm the guy that can't figure out how to do nine things out of 10. I need Dan's help. So, okay. So then I figure out like, oh shit, I'm going to be in this art show and I'm doing it for exposure, but and they are well attended. There are like hundreds of people that show up at this thing. Really well attended. Dan, I busted a move and made like this little plaque about like who I am and like a little write up about me, like a little bio and some photos of me. And right there, very big, was a nice cleanly printed Instagram QR code right there. So I got a bunch of new followers, and I was totally like, "Hey, follow me on Instagram." And then I have a link on Instagram, like, "Did you like the art, but didn't want to buy it? Well, I got more available here, and by the way, it's a little cheaper." So, just
That's funny.
yeah, I'm trying to save it. You know what I mean?
Couple shekels.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I got no income coming in whatsoever these days. Like Rose, like, have you checked your bank account lately? I'm like, no. She's like, looking pretty thin in there. I'm like, fuck.
Wow. That's tough, man.
Well, I don't care. I mean, I know that something will happen. I'll get another, couple $100 here or there. But yeah, I know when I play drums with the Grateful Dead cover band, you do pretty well. You could make like $250 a night. That's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
No, it's cash under the table.
And
Here
for
you
doing
go.
something and for doing something you like.
I would do it for free. I would
Yeah.
literally do it for free. And sometimes it's not great. Like if it's lightly attended, you might not make that much. Or if it's really packed, you might make a little more than that, and that's shocking to like. Even when I was in Grotus, I would never come home with cash in the pocket like that, not once. And I was in Grotus for 10 years. We were a major label band. I never walked away with any money ever, except for when we got signed and I demanded to get all my money that day and walk out of there, which is a whole different story. I'm sure I told it before. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just yammering on, and I'm glad to hear, Dan, that you are on the right path, that you have got a good, what we used to call in the punk rock scene, PMA. Dan's got that PMA, and that means positive mental attitude. And that's what Dan has, and that's what's important to have no matter where this life leads you or me or anyone else,
Yep.
because that's all we can do.
That's right. That's it. That is all we can do.
So you hang out with a lawn chair out by the pigs.
Yeah, I'm out on my little deck by the RV, just kind of chilling.
Is it
Um,
shaded?
well, it's not sunny out today.
Oh, it's kind of cloudy.
Cloudy. Yeah.
Ro is getting ready. Ro is getting ready to go to DC. She's got this long-standing trip to go to DC for like a couple weeks, and she likes to visit all these national monuments and national parks and stuff like this by herself,
Ugh, it sounds
I know.
terrible.
But I told her, I said, it's probably like it's super cold there right now. There's a very bad coldness happening in DC right now. So I said, oh, the weather's not going to agree with you too much, but I will just be in the house by myself, which means eating pizza and kind of being sloth-like.
I like that.
Yeah, look. I'm taking your advice. I'm ordering the pizza. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
Like I
Oh yeah, yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah.
Dan felt so bad for me. He ordered a pizza. That was the funniest thing. And he's like, "There's a pizza out in your driveway." I'm like, "Huh? It's getting cold." All right, buddy. I'll let you go. Listen, say hi to Kara for me.
Yeah,
I
sorry
love
I'm
you,
such a
buddy.
downer. I'm trying my
No,
best.
look. Are you kidding? It's a valid reaction to the circumstances. 100%.
It
You
is.
know, when I get into recovery, they said, it's going to be hard because you're going to feel emotions for the first time. I go, what do you mean by that? They're like, well, you've been spending decades, muting your emotions and just fucking deadening them. And now you're going to feel regret and anger and remorse. And you're going to feel all the negative emotions because when you stay drunk and high, you stay in the positive emotions. And it doesn't work for that long. It's temporary. And I remember those early days of recovery. Yeah, I was just bummed out all the time, you know, all the
Yeah.
time.
It's tough, man. I mean, I think the hardest part right now is sort of the anxiety, you know?
I
Um,
can imagine the anxiety and the waiting. Like you got to wait for I bet there's a part of you that's probably like, I wish we could just fucking fast forward to the 6 weeks so I can go in and, you know what I mean? Like, you're probably right.
well, see, here's the thing. When I go in, the best news will be, hey, it's the same size. But that
Yeah,
just, all that really means is I come home and do this all over again.
right.
Because realistically, for this thing to be over, for us to take the next step, which is getting me off of blood thinners, that's going to be late August.
Yeah, and to put like a time on the calendar where you think that's going to happen is even probably detrimental too, when the whole name of the game is, like your doctor said, time. Just time is going to heal this. And
Yeah, he said he had another case like mine recently where it did not really respond to the first stent. They put another one in, and then exactly what I just said. They just waited it out, literally waited it out for the
like
stent.
6 months, a year, whatever it
Well,
takes.
it's 6 months. That's when you're safe to come off the blood thinners. I mean, they
Yeah,
normally would prefer to wait a year, but it's 6 months you're safe, where
yeah.
you can come off. And he said sometimes if it's healing really well, sometimes he'll start tapering you in 3 months. So I would
Well,
take
does taking the blood thinners have any detrimental effect on any other areas?
no, no, it doesn't at all. It's just that I have to be on them while the stents are before the
Oh,
stents are grown in.
well, that's not the worst case scenario. I mean, just to be taken, like I take pills every day. It's a hassle, but
No,
I
I don't mind
mean,
taking the pill. What I'm saying is once I can come off of that, the aneurysm will heal immediately because the
oh,
blood will clot.
oh, I understand.
So
The blood,
the
yeah,
thing that's keeping you alive,
is also the thing that's not causing things not to heal quickly.
That's right.
Oh, I get it.
So I just
Wow.
have to, if we get a good report in 3 weeks, I'll be
Yeah.
happy. Don't get me wrong. I'll be very happy, but it's not in any way the end of the line. It just means, all right,
Yeah, it's not you like, oh, great, just fucking get out and start lifting up pigs and just, going back to that. Yeah.
yeah, means I'm going back home and I'm chilling out, taking it easy, more of the same,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Has this whole thing have you thought about starting any new hobbies that are very low impact and just like doing things that you've not had the time or interest to do before in life? Like, are you a big reader? Do you ever like read novels? Do you ever like sit around and read novels? Is that your like if I had tons of time, like I'd probably do that too. You know what I mean? Like there's things that people like to do when there's a lot of downtime. You know,
yeah, I have been reading. I've taken up reading.
reading's great. I'm glad you like
Yeah,
that.
I've taken up reading and, you know, doing what I'm just trying to, like you said, I'm trying to find stuff to sort of keep my mind occupied. I really,
Yeah.
what I find is that the more time I spend outside, the better I feel.
Oh, 100%. That is such a big deal. Just what you're doing right now, just literally being outside, sitting in a chair, and just like looking at the trees in the distance and seeing the green grass, like that is incredibly helpful. You should do it at night too when you start getting warm nights, like the ancient peoples used to do. They used to just spend a lot of time just looking at the stars, and
Yeah.
because that's pretty crazy shit. Like we as modern humans don't look at the stars anymore. We're looking at our phones. They spend a lot of time looking at these stars at night, especially on a warm night. And that's something that I force myself to do like late at night in the desert when I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Is like, oh man, that really helps. You really feel like connected to bigger forces.
Yeah. So I'm just sort of trying to spend time outside. It's been raining lately, so I haven't been able to do as much.
Yeah.
And trying to maintain a good attitude and, you
Good.
know, keeping in touch with people I care about. And
Yeah. I
um,
like I like the talking with the ant. She's a good resource.
she's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, good God, the shit she's been through. Um, but yeah, that's where we're at, man. I mean, the good news, I think at this point, it would be unlikely for me to die from this.
Right.
Um, but different things are on the table. We're just gonna have to wait and see. And there's nothing I can do to speed it up.
Nothing you could do. Nothing you could do. Just chill and just do the best you can to just. If the one thing that they said you can do was to keep low blood pressure, that would be my life's work for the next 6 weeks.
That's what I'm doing,
Like
and that's
just
why
let.
it's important for me to keep the anxiety down. So
Yeah. So what techniques do you have to keep the anxiety down? Avoid
uh
things that irritate you.
well, meditation and breath work,
Yeah, that's a good one.
and there's techniques, you can do, and then of course medication.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
um,
Good. Well, I'm glad to
you
hear
know,
you're employing everything at your disposal.
I'm doing everything I can do, man. I'm not giving this thing any reason to act up. Because
Right.
that's one thing is
That's the best. Yeah.
before when I was here, I was probably doing too much.
Oh, you absolutely were.
Yeah.
You absolutely were. And, like, that's why I was so glad to, like, when I got the two texts, like, hey, I'm shutting down my business here. You're going to pay your phone. Hey, I'm not doing this chat software anymore. I'm like, oh, this is good. This means, Dan, look, I know how the Heeb is with his expenses. And, like, this is not something. I was like, oh, Dan is really taking it serious. I'm very proud of you. Very good.
I got
Yeah.
to keep up the PMA. That's what I have to do.
Got that PMA. I got that PMA. There's a Bad Brain song. I got that PMA. I got that PMA. You'd like it. I'll send it to you. But listen, I want you to keep doing what you're doing. Don't hesitate to call me or text me if there's any sort of thing that I can do. I know I'm just like this fucking goy,
Of course, of
but
course. I mean, you
if
never
there's
know.
anything
The
I
call
can.
the call may come one day, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, the goy. Oh man. All right, brother. Listen, you take it easy. Say hi to Kara for me.
Yep.
And I guess that wraps up episode number 50. 53 of the Heeb and
53
Goy
is
show.
gone, and then from now on it's audio. So make sure you get that. You subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever, and you can go to heebandgoy.com for the link. I'll still upload to YouTube, but it's a pain. So,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right,
We'll do it the other way better. Sounds good,
peace,
buddy. Good
peace
talking to
out.
you. Peace out.